Hello, welcome to this inspiring money story session. So, today I have a very special guest here for you. It is Jamie Berman, and she is a fellow coach and a fellow manifestation coach. So, I'm super excited to be having this conversation. I think we have an awful lot in common in terms of our mindset and, all of our beliefs around this. So, I'm really excited to dig in and learn what Jamie has to teach us about manifestation. Jamie, do you want to just kick off maybe by introducing yourself for those in the community who don't know who you are and don't know what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to meet you all. I'm Jamie Berman. I am a master certified coach. I have a background in spiritual psychology. So, the work that I do in the world is I kind of blend mindset work with spirituality, with manifestation, with universal laws. And I find that the blend of that is just magical and so much fun. And my specialty really is around money and the energetics of money, specifically for entrepreneurs. That's who I typically work with. But yeah, I've manifested all kinds of things, but I love money because it was that thing that for me, for so many years, was like, I feel like I can manifest anything but money. And so
Mhm.
I had to do a lot of my own inner work around that. And I know so many other people are the same way. And so as I've done that and kind of broke free from my limitations and brought in way more money than I could have even imagined, I was like, I've got to teach this. It's so much easier than we make it out to be. So that's the
Totally.
work that I do in the world. But I just love manifestation. It's magical.
Oh, it so is, isn't it? Amazing. And we were having a brief chat on Facebook before we decided to schedule this conversation. And you were telling me that you went from having a business, I think, where you were making about 12K a year.
Yeah.
And then over the course of time, you've used manifestation principles to radically change your business. And you've gone from 12K a year, I think, to over 500K
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
year, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
amazing. I mean,
Yes.
can you paint us a little bit of a picture of what was life like before manifestation? What was it like before you realized the energetics of money and how that could really transform your business?
Yeah. So it was interesting because I've been into manifestation for a while. I feel like it came to me. So I've manifested amazing things in my life, like all through my 20s. Some of the things it's like, you just couldn't write that. It's wild. And so I learned manifestation just through reading self help books, Wayne Dyer, things like that. So I was already manifesting a lot of things. But whenever I got into business, I just still had this belief that money was hard, that money was this thing that was hard. It's for lucky people. It's not for someone who looks like me and with my skills. And maybe I'm not smart enough and I need more degrees and all of these things. Right. So
Mhm.
when I got into business, I would set these goals and never reach them. Right. Like I
Mhm.
just felt like year after year, I was setting another money goal, but it was kind of like a joke at a certain point because my first year I brought in, I think it was about $7,000 the whole year. And then the second year, I brought in like $14,000. And at that point, that's when I actually discovered the life coach school where we were both certified
Yeah.
and learned really the power of your thoughts when it comes to money. And right,
Mm.
like I learned that the amount of money that you make really is a direct reflection of your relationship with money. And when I say relationship with money, the way what you believe about money, the thoughts that you have, what you think you're capable of creating, all of that impacts your bottom line and what you end up creating. And so at that point, I was like, ooh, I know I need to do some work around money. And I also at that point was like, I'm actually going to declare a goal and really go for it. Because before it was kind of just like wishing, hoping. So it's like, I'm going to make $100,000, right? I'm going to make $100,000 this year. And I started really working on my mind. There was one belief though that I didn't clean up, and that was
Mhm.
that it takes a lot of hard work to make money and that I have to way over deliver, right? Like my value comes from how much I do. So I started making more money. I actually hit $100,000 that year, but by the end of the year, it really came from one, some of the mindset and doing that work, but also like hustling for it. I was just
Yeah.
action, 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 doing all of the things, and I was so tired and burnt out. And by the end of that year, I was like, there's got to be another way. Like, I'm like, my clients are thriving. I am over here like depressed in bed, feeling awful, like just so depleted.
Yeah.
So I just went through, I remember that whole month of December because I had hit the number and I'm like, I feel anything but abundant. I thought when I hit this number, I'm going to feel amazing and abundant and successful. And I didn't feel any of those things.
Right.
And so that month I kind of just took it off and was like, wait a minute. How come I can like manifest all of these other amazing things into my life, but business feels like this hard thing? What's different about those? And I started comparing it and I realized I just didn't believe other things were really hard. And I didn't feel like I had to do so many things in order to deserve, whatever it was elsewhere in my life. So that's when I was like, wait a minute, I'm not even bringing like my spiritual practices into business. All the things that I love and know and that work in every other area, even manifestation. I'm like, I'm not even practicing manifestation in business. I think it's just action that creates results. So I was like, what if next year I just like the following year, I was like, what if I went for $100,000 again, but just from a completely different energy, like stepping back, not working so much, practicing manifestation, bringing all of my spiritual principles and the things that I love into my business and infuse it with that. I wonder what would happen. Right. And it was scary because I knew that like the other way kind of worked, but I was like, I just can't go on this way. So I have to try something else. And at least like I just held it as a year experiment. And that year was life-changing. It really was life-changing in my business because I was working like, I would say a third of the time and ended up making even more than $100,000. But I just felt so much more aligned with my business, with what I was doing. I had room to breathe and be creative. So ever since then, I'm like, nope, this is my business plan. Manifestation is my business plan. And then the following year I made $500,000. So
amazing.
Yeah. So it makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. Absolutely. And I feel like what you're illustrating there is something that I see so often. And maybe it's because I'm actually a bit of a type A and I fell into that as well. The overworking and, getting completely burnt out. And, it's just so common. We think the more we do, the more we earn. And we just forget actually that, yes, we can manifest it all, but it doesn't have to come through hard work.
Yes.
So I'm curious to know if you were carrying that belief initially when you got to six figures. So it takes a lot of work to make more money.
Yeah.
What was the difference then in your mindset when you actually created more money and worked a third less, I think you said, didn't you?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of, it's not like I believed it yet, but I was like, what if it's true that my thoughts create money? What if that's true? What if it's not the actions that I take? What if it is my thoughts? And I played with that. So it was that shift of really believing that like the way that I think and what I believe is what's going to create money, what I believe I'm worthy of or deserving of, and what I go for and what I declare. So it was kind of this like question I posed of what if, and I just practiced living into that. I played it. It was almost like a game because it was like, what's the worst that can happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think it was that shift. It was from, it's only my actions that create results and all the strategies to, it's my thoughts that create my money.
So interesting. So interesting. And I think, that's something that I've, had a similar experience with. And I've kind of practiced those things of, I'm someone who has 10K months, 20K months, I even had one where I made up a little song in my mind about being an investment queen. It was like an ABBA song, investment queen. Yeah. And I was like singing that to myself in the shower. And all of these people and mentors came into my life and I didn't know anything about it. And it was literally the thoughts that I was practicing that was creating these new opportunities that would bring me all of this new 100%. Abundance.
Isn't it amazing? I know. It impacts the way that you think impacts what comes into your life. Because all of a sudden you might find that right mentor or someone who's going to teach you exactly what you're believing. It's amazing.
So incredible. And I love the freedom that that gives us, because when you see that hustle culture out there in business, if you are in the world of, online marketing and all that kind of stuff, you get on Instagram, you get on any social media channel, you'll probably see all the people that are promoting like the hustle and, all of that kind of stuff to get your business going. And we can so fall into that. But it's really nice to step back and realize actually we don't need to do that. And I love your example of, creating so much abundance through your coaching business through
Yeah.
manifestation. We don't have to take that really hardcore masculine energy approach.
Yes,
So,
100%. So true.
and I can see actually that we've got some people here live, and we've had a question come in, and it was also a
Awesome.
question that's on my mind, which is perfect. What a great segue. What steps did you take through that process? So I'm assuming that this question is relating from, the 12K to the 500K a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do?
Well, number one, I declared what I wanted, and it was unwavering. I was like, I'll just give you an example of the 500K year. So I was like, I'm going to make a 500K this year. Now, did it seem logical to have that goal coming from $145,000? No, not at all. My brain was like, how? Yeah, right. Like, and that's the thing is I have to like learn to just hold space for my limiting thoughts and just not give in to them, because they are there for sure. So manifesting isn't just about like, you only have to believe this one thing. It's about like deciding what you're going to believe and holding space for the rest, right? Like letting it be there, but not giving into it. So I just declared I'm going to make $500,000. I told my husband, I told my friends, it was unwavering. I just would see it. I believed it. I felt it. I declared it at the beginning of the year. It also was something that I felt deep in my heart that I wanted to create, because sometimes I think we decide on things from almost like our ego. We're like, oh, I think this is the next step, but your heart and soul isn't really in it. So for this, I felt like my heart and soul was in it. Mostly because I was like, this would be so fun to like prove that manifestation is real. So I felt really connected to it. So I declared it, decided I was going to do it. And then there's a couple steps, but I think the next thing is believing that you can have it. So I had to really reprogram any beliefs that said that I couldn't. And I had to challenge them. And so I have a whole process for doing that, but I take the beliefs that are coming up and I'm like, what if that's not true, right? What if the opposite is true? And really challenge them. So I did a lot of belief work. The other thing that I did was just courageously go for it. So when I say, I don't hustle anymore, it does not mean that I don't take action. I just take action from a different energy, from like believing that I'm going to do it. So I have that, balance between masculine and feminine, and I love taking action. I love going for it. So I courageously went for it. I said yes to opportunities. And like, if I had an idea that came up that felt really scary, I would go for it. Like I had the idea for a mastermind, and it was back then I was doing one-on-one coaching, and I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so cool to do a mastermind and bring all of my one-on-one clients together. Like I just had this vision of like, ooh, that'd be so awesome, because they're all so similar. I feel like they'd all be best friends. They're all going through the same things. I feel like it would be even more powerful together. So I had this little vision, but my brain was like, you are not ready for that, right?
Yeah.
and like totally. So it took a little bit of time, but I was like, what if I just took the leap? Like, what's the worst that could happen? What if I got 2 people in it? What if I got no one? So what? Let's just go. So I took courageous action before I was really ready. And that ended up being very successful. So yeah, I kept courageously going for things. I took leaps before I was ready, consistently worked on my mind. And then the other one that I'm always recommending and that I practice is enjoying the journey. So you can't chase your manifestations, because you're not then in an energetic state of actually knowing that it's done, having it. So I manifested from a place of abundance, of like really having gratitude for where I was. I wasn't in a rush to make the 500. I was like, I'm good as I am. There's no rush. So I got in that state of what I call like being an energetic match for it, of like knowing it's done, but enjoying my way there, appreciating what I have, feeling like there's no rush to getting there. Like it's going to happen. I didn't feel like I have to have it by this time, or otherwise that means something about me. It was like, no, this is just fun. Like it was a light touch type of thing.
Nice.
So yeah,
Nice.
those are some of the things that I did.
Ah, amazing. I think, that's a really, really good point because so many people that I see get into that stress state, that
Yeah.
stress state of like, it's got to happen and I have to make it happen. And, one of the things that I'm often coaching on is actually, what if you do less? What if you don't do that?
Oh,
What
yeah.
if you actually do something that actually feels good instead of making yourself do something that feels really out of alignment and you're
Yeah.
almost going to vomit doing it? Not
Yeah.
the good kind of vomit, not the kind of
Yeah.
challenge and dare kind of, and it
Totally.
works. It really, really works. Staying in
Yes.
that vibration as you're going through and just enjoying it a little bit more and lightening up. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think being attached to our manifestations or our goals is one of the biggest way things that slows us down really, even energetically, or
Yes.
like the attraction of it. Because when we're attached, we don't believe it's possible. So it's going against, like, you have to believe it's possible.
Totally, because if you believed it was possible, then you wouldn't have to like constantly be asking for
Yes.
it, focusing on it. Yeah,
Yep.
willing it into
100%.
existence.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, law of assumption at its best, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
yeah. So I'm seeing another great question. Did you use vision boards? Did you use affirmations? Any tips on where to place them?
Yeah, I have vision boards. I love vision boards. I think they're really helpful for me because I think the first step to manifesting is deciding what you want, getting crystal clear on what you want. And a vision board just helps you solidify that. It helps you have a visual of where you're headed and helps you like put yourself in that place. So I definitely had a vision board, and on the vision board I had all kinds of things. It wasn't just the money. It was also like the lifestyle that I was excited to live into. I was also at that time manifesting a condo or the place in Hawaii, which I manifested the next year. So I had that on there as well. So I just make the vision board very me of like, ooh, what would be so fun? What would be like, I always think like, what is the life that I really want to live? How do I want to take advantage of this one precious life? Like,
Yes.
what gifts do I want to give my future self in terms of experiences? So I put all of that on the
Beautiful.
vision board. I also intend feelings. So that's another thing that I learned through that 100K hustle year is, for me, it's not just about getting crystal clear on like what I want, but it's like, what's the energy that I want to create it from? And I decide that ahead of time and
Mm,
I practice it. So I put those words, maybe it's abundance, maybe it's calm, excite, right, whatever it is, I'll put those on my vision board as well. And that's really helpful for me to like remember that those are the feelings that I want to step more fully into, and that's going to help me manifest it. So
absolutely.
yeah, I do that. I practice thought work as well. So I definitely, I just practice new thoughts consistently. I think a lot of times I'm like, what would be fun to believe by the end of the month? Right. So like I'll come
Mm,
up with something, what would be fun to believe? And I set that intention. By the end of the month, I'm going to believe this. And then I commit
nice.
to it all month.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, what a
And
great
it
little
works.
tip. Yeah. And for those of you who are watching that don't know about, the term thought work, essentially what we're talking about here is self-coaching. So, going into your journal and getting out all of the chatter that's going on in your brain and then doing a little bit of coaching and just talking yourself through that. Is it really true? This is how it's impacting my life, looking at what it's actually creating in your life, and then intentionally starting to change your beliefs. So that's what Jamie's referring to there. And I love that. Like, what new beliefs can I take on this month? What do I intend to
Yep.
believe by the end of this month?
Totally.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's
Because, like you were saying
powerful.
before, your thoughts create things, your thoughts create
Yep.
money. How fun
Yep.
is that? What if
Yep.
you were to believe that you were to, create X amount of money or be that person who has that money by the end of the month?
Yes.
That
Yes.
is really, really fun.
Yes.
Yeah. And I can see some comments coming through. People are loving that idea as well. Fantastic. Just coming back to the vision board that you were talking about before as well, do you have any specific tips as a manifestation coach around vision boards? What makes a quality vision board aside from that great one, which was putting the feeling words on there?
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think it's individual for each person. So I'm not like a human design expert or anything like that, but I love to dabble in that kind of stuff. And I know in human design, they talk about there's specific manifestors and non-specific manifestors. And you don't even have to go look at your human design in order to know, but you just asking yourself, do I feel more lit up when I'm thinking about my vision or what's in the future more non-specifically, like what it's going to feel like, what it's going to like be like versus super specific, which is like, ooh, I want to manifest a house that has this railing on it and this kind of marble and,
Yeah.
getting super, super specific. So I
Mm.
think asking yourself like, ooh, what feels better for me? Do I like keeping it a little more open and non-specific and manifesting more of like the feelings that I want to live into, the energy that I want to live into, or do I
Yeah.
know specifically exactly what my heart and soul feels called to create and I see it? And I would create the vision board based upon that. So
Nice.
if you
Yeah.
have super specific visions, put those on there. But if not, it's okay that the vision board is just sort of like giving you a feeling. It's giving you an
Mm.
energy of what you
Mhm.
want. So that's one thing that I recommend. Another thing that I recommend is when you're looking at your vision board, put yourself in it,
Mm.
right? Imagine yourself in it versus like this thing that's happening in the future. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
And also, I've heard some people, and I've had clients who have had this experience where they'll create a vision board and it actually puts them in more lack because they start taking on this mindset of like, this is what I want, but I'm here and it's not what I have, and I'm so far away from it.
Mhm.
So that's not going to be helpful.
No.
Right?
No,
So
absolutely.
yes, 100%. So, like, if you're in that, like, just don't even use a vision board, or you can do kind of look at what's going on and do some internal work around that of like, oh, what is getting in the way of me believing that I can have these things?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Great
Yeah.
point. Like, you just gotta go with, what is that feeling that I'm actually getting when I'm looking at that, and then figure out what to do from there. Yeah,
Yes. It
yeah.
should feel good. It shouldn't feel bad, right? That's not the point of it.
Exactly, exactly. So we've got a projector in the audience who's saying, "I need spaciousness and simplicity." So having a vision board based on those feelings, she loves that idea.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting,
Perfect. Yep.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. So I'm a manifesting generator. So I tend to have all the vision on there, and
Yeah.
lots of different bits, and it really works for me. So
Yes.
it's really
Yes.
nice to link it into human design. Actually, that's a nice kind of framework for that as well.
Yeah, it can
Yeah.
help with manifesting. Totally. I found that my design helps me with my manifestation process.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So, some another question that we've got here: do you have lots on your vision board, or just a few? And do you have a board for each month or a season? That's interesting. So it sounds like, how frequently do you update your vision
Yeah.
board, and then how much do you have on your vision board? And I think we maybe kind of answered that before with the design aspect, the human design aspect. But
Yeah.
just interested in your thoughts on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any right or wrong way, right? Like, I think one of the things that people who are getting into manifestation can get stuck on is like, oh, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way,
Mhm.
right? And then they look for,
Yeah.
am I doing it right? And if the results aren't coming fast enough, I'm not doing it right. So just want to put that out there that there's no right or wrong way. You get to actually find what works for you. So I'll tell you what I like doing. I like doing about one a year, just because it takes some time,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, I print out things for the year. I do about one a year. Sometimes maybe I've had some years where I've done two in a year. But yeah, and how much do I put on it? Whatever I feel inspired to create, that's what I
Mhm.
put on it. Like, I don't
Amazing.
have any kind of guidelines around it. It's more like, oh, what are the things that I want to call in this year? And I just kind of go through, and I'll go through like Google Images and Canva and look for pictures and print it out. So yeah, there's no
Nice.
really right or wrong, but I do cover many different areas. Like, I don't just have it around business, and I don't just, you know what I mean? Like, mine is just kind of like, "Ooh, what's the life I want to live into in full?"
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Because really, at the end of the day, like, business is one aspect, and yeah, there's the impact and the money that comes through that, but that's going to actually, have a ripple effect on our entire lives. So,
Yeah.
it's not segmented at all, really, in our life. So why have it segmented on your vision board unless
Yeah.
that really works for your brain? I guess. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
100%. Yeah. Good
absolutely.
question though.
So I'm really curious as well about your real estate investments. So you
Yeah.
mentioned that you manifested 1 million through real estate investments once or twice?
Twice.
What was the
Yeah.
story around that? That's
Yes.
incredible. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, it's not even something that I consciously intended. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to create $1 million through this investment, right? Like, I was just doing And I do so much work around my relationship with money and abundance and living in that, that I feel like it was just more like the universe brought that to me. So it was
Yeah.
like the homes that I had purchased just went up by $1 million. And
Lovely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's been an amazing, uh, inflow of abundance that, and again, that's also going back to the belief, like, you don't have to work hard for it. Like, I didn't even work at all for
Right.
that other than taking care of my home, and having to, buy it and sell it, but it's not like I hustled for that money.
No, no,
So I just
totally.
really have this belief that money just loves to come finding me. Money's like, I'm an energetic match for big numbers. And I would also practice believing that I was a millionaire.
Yeah.
And yeah, from a young age, I always saw myself as a millionaire. So yeah,
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's
it
what you
just like,
create.
yeah. And
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
time it happened, I was like, what? Because we had no
Yeah.
idea that the house even really went up that much. And so we had someone come over whenever we were gonna sell it. And they had told us what it gone up, and we were like,
Yeah.
wow. So it wasn't even really conscious, but it does show you what happens when you shift the way that you think about money.
Yeah, it really, really does, doesn't it? I
Yeah.
love that you've been practicing that you have though, that you are a millionaire for such
Yeah.
a long time and it literally has come into reality.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just amazing. And I've had a kind of similar experience, but I didn't come to that at such a young age. I think because of my family's history with money, I actually came out of childhood with lots of funky limiting beliefs around money,
Yeah.
around debt, around what was possible. I
Yeah.
was a chronic under earner until my late 20s, really. And so it was only around, my 30s, I started really changing my money mindset. And I got into the same trap of I have to earn more by
Yeah.
working harder,
Yes.
and then I got into just a little bit of property investment before my daughter came along. And it was really interesting to see how you can just release that belief. It can come to you easily. It doesn't
Mhm.
actually have to come through your business, through work
Yes.
necessarily. There's so many different ways. Just open up to the flow and, all the opportunities that can come your way. And it's absolutely amazing.
It's so
Yeah.
true. I always think like it comes through the channel of the whatever's the path of least resistance, right?
Right.
So it's interesting because my brain probably thought, oh, it's going to come through business, but I never would have expected that,
Yeah.
it would have come through real estate.
Absolutely.
Never.
Yeah. Path of least resistance. That's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many of us have so much money, so many problems manifesting money. Like the cup of coffee might be easy, the parking spaces, the parking
Yes.
angels helping us out, all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. That's the easy stuff. But when it comes
Yeah.
to money, it's just literally a different set of thoughts, and
Yeah.
there's more resistance there. And if we can release that, then the flow can open up.
It's so
Yeah.
true because it's just
Yeah.
as easy to manifest money as it is a parking spot, right? But like as long as we
Absolutely.
believe that and hold that.
Yes, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. So you've given us
Yeah.
so many fantastic tips already, and I'm curious to know for someone who might be in the earlier stages of business, because I know a lot of people in my community, they are, coming into the coaching world, they're just looking to create those consistent 5K months, they may be like on the starting blocks. What would you say to them around using manifestation as part of your business strategy and, how you can really make that work for them, just
Yeah.
like you did?
Totally. I think it's the best strategy. I mean, of course, you want to bring strategy in too. You have to learn like how to sell and how to like conduct business and deliver to your clients and all that super fun. And probably part of your purpose. But I would say don't um don't put off your inner work around money mindset, because
Mhm.
if you're going about business and doing all the right things and doing the posts 3 times a week and all of this, but you're still, even unintentionally without realizing, holding on to beliefs like I'm not deserving of money, or how is this ever going to work, or anything around that, or like it's wrong to want money, I feel guilty for asking for money. Any of these kind of beliefs are going to block you from making money. So you can do all of the things, but you will find that you're not making money unless you just came in with an abundant mindset, which some people do, but that was not the case
Mhm.
for me. I did not grow
Yeah.
up with that. So I just think it's just as important to do that work, or whether it's money or your belief in yourself as an entrepreneur, as a coach, or whatever, you're doing. That work is, I mean, just as important as learning strategy. So I just always recommend to make space for it and do it
Mm,
consistently. Yeah, because it's going to affect
absolutely.
your business so much.
Yeah, there's so much power in just bringing in that practical side of things and the energetic side of things and just plugging the two
Yeah,
into each other, especially if you're someone who is already very spiritual. And that's most of the people in this community, that I
yeah,
tend to attract. We are spiritual
totally.
people. So it doesn't make sense to switch that off and just purely focus on the strategy and the masculine side of things and the push and the
Yes.
hustle.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. And I feel like those of us who are attracted to this tend to be the type who, like, maybe it's more comfortable being in our masculine and doing, right?
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
that's why we're attracted to this because we know on some level this is like what we need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. So I'm also curious around what do you think is the most powerful belief or your favorite belief around money and abundance?
Mm. Oh, that's such a good question. I just put on my Instagram today 25 of my favorite money beliefs. So it's hard to pick one, but I
Oh,
think the
okay. I'm going to have to
thought,
go and have a look at that
yeah,
post actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I was like, that was fun creating that. I was like, let me download them all. But I think the one that I love is just money always comes finding me. Like me and
Mm,
money, I love
yes.
money. Money loves me. It just always comes finding me. I don't always know the way. I don't, but like it just puts me in this state of like, I don't have to worry. That's not an area of my
Mhm.
life that I need to worry about anymore, which is so opposite from what I used to believe. But yeah,
Yeah.
just having that like and just starting to find evidence of how that's true, that's been
Mhm.
super helpful. Yeah. That's
Mm,
probably one of my favorites. That's one that I like live into a lot. Just always
I
comes finding me. So
love
every
that.
time I get a payment, anytime I get anything, any kind of money, I'm like, money loves finding me. It loves
Yeah.
me. Yeah. And
Yeah. More and more
I focus on
evidence.
the money. Yeah. I focus on the money coming in, right? Like, because what we focus on grows. So I love to like
Yeah.
celebrate that and appreciate it and just love it
I
back.
love that. I
Hmm.
love that.
Do you have a favorite
Absolutely.
one?
Yeah. Do I have a favorite one? That is a really good one, actually.
I
Do
know, right?
you know what? I think, yeah, I know now you've put me on the spot. I think actually one of the ones that I love is people just love to pay me for my work. Just really
Yes.
living into that belief that people love to pay me for the work that I do,
That's
and
so
then I
good.
find the evidence of that everywhere and it just keeps on coming and coming and coming. And I think when you're looking at, like really manifesting through your business, that is a really, really great one because, money I sometimes describe it. I don't know if you probably have a similar kind of analogy of it's a little bit like where a river is starting, and there's a little trickle of water, and there's this kind of tributary growing, and that's a little bit like when we've got a new income stream in our business, or we've got a new business from scratch, and it
Yes.
grows and it grows and it grows over time. So supporting it with those kinds of beliefs it brings that kind of flow, that big flow that will eventually turn into a river. And I think when we've practiced that a lot, the abundance comes so easily from that. And so when I'm
Yeah.
working with people and they're creating a new income stream or it's a whole new business. I kind of describe it that way because when they start manifesting, it's like, oh, I've already got a holiday home and I'm getting loads of guests suddenly. Or,
Yes.
I've got my place on Airbnb and
Yep.
suddenly it's completely full. And it's like, yeah,
Yes.
that is like the practice way. Like you were saying, there's,
Yep.
no, there's like less resistance there. And then you use these kinds of beliefs like, but people love to pay me money for this work. There
Yeah.
are people everywhere looking for this. And you
So good.
find them, you find the audience, you find the right people, and it's just
Yep.
really helps to support the business. So yeah, I
Oh,
think
so good.
that's one I keep coming back to with the
That's
with
a
the
good
work I'm
one.
doing. Yeah,
I
definitely,
love that.
definitely. Yeah, I was also looking actually in our group program. We do a money date every Monday, and we did our money date this week, and we were doing a little journaling exercise. And I was highlighting when you were talking about, some of the steps that you take around manifestation. And one of the big things is just courageously going for it. And I had to
Yeah.
laugh to myself internally because what we came up with for our affirmation this week was I boldly conquer my money goals. And that is totally about just, going
So
out
good.
and doing that kind of daring action and being really courageous. And
Yep.
so that's one I'm actually using at the moment as well. So I guess that's two,
I
but yeah,
love it. That's
yeah, yeah,
great. So good.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
definitely, definitely. So I have one final question for you that I'm curious to know is there's so many manifestation practices out there, and I mean
Mhm.
I'm sure you've tried them all. Do you
Yeah.
have a favorite? Do you have a really fun one that you love to come back to?
Yeah, good question. A favorite. Oh, that's such a hard question because I love so
Yeah,
many and I feel like they change with the season too, depending
so
on
true.
what I'm doing, what I'm going through, what I feel um inspired by. Let me think, what is my favorite practice? I think it's honestly the one that's been the most helpful is the one where I claim a new belief that I want to believe every month. And I
Yeah,
that practice that I shared, I think that's probably been the most helpful. And I just commit to it because when that happens, what we believe is what we create. So then you start seeing evidence of it. And
yeah,
I don't even do a ton of work around that one in terms of like cleaning stuff up or anything. I just write it down every day and
yeah,
feel it. I'm like, oh, what if I just believe that and just decide this is what I'm just going to believe, this month. And the more I just write down that one thought, something
mm,
magic happens. So that's the one that it's like I don't waver from. I do that all
yeah,
the time and I have.
amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say that's probably it. But also I really think just for me the foundation of it is also taking care of myself. Right?
Mm,
So that year that I was like hustling, I was not taking care of myself. So having space to even be creative, to even get those inspired insights and things like that. So I do take a lot of time to just be, to meditate, to do the things that I love. I don't work on weekends ever, right? I'm like,
mm,
just do things in my life that light me up. Like I'll go kayaking, I go to Hawaii a lot. I live there part time. But
yeah.
so, like, just really enjoying my life and enjoying the abundance of it, that also really helps me in terms of manifesting because I'm not like in a rush to get somewhere else. And then I
No.
get way more ideas if I give myself that space.
Absolutely. And it sounds like then you're also living into that place of absolute gratitude, like really taking that time, taking that space, really
Yeah.
enjoying life. And yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Totally.
absolutely.
Yes.
Amazing. I have loved this conversation. There have been so many gems, so many great takeaways. I'm going to go back and listen to this myself and
Yes.
yeah, yeah, write some
Aw.
notes. So, yeah, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for generously sharing, all of your tips and your wisdom. I know that, people are going to get so much from this conversation.
Aw, thank
Yeah.
you, Carrie. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful. It's so fun to talk about this. I could
Oh,
I
I
could go
love
on
it. I know.
forever. It's the best.
Exactly. I could talk about it all day. It's like,
I know.
it's such a gift to be able to work and do this work in
Right?
the world, isn't it? Yeah,
I love it.
definitely.
Yes.
And speaking of your work, if anyone's curious about, finding out more about what you do, finding your
Yeah.
post on your 25 favorite money beliefs on Instagram, where
Yes.
can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Jamie Berman _ on Instagram. My website is jamieberman.com. And then, yeah, the work that I do is I have a money program. So I have a money program and a mastermind. So you can just come connect with me on Instagram, though. That's where you'll find me the most often.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Great. Thank you so much.
got it. Thank
All right.
you.
See you
All right.
later.
Bye.